the only other way to measure antioxidants in the cells of the body is to use one of these machines right here on this table. Yeah, all of these machines are the same, sort of. They're all HPLC machines. It stands for high performance liquid chromatography. If the tan one's about $100,000 a pop, and the black ones are about $180,000 a piece. So you can look at it. Basically, this was, well, not basically. This was how they calibrated the scanner initially at the University of Utah. Because they went to the, it's attached to the University of Utah hospital, and they took tummy tuck patients. They took their skin. They would scan the skin that had just been excised off their stomachs. They'd scan it, then they'd liquefy it, grind it up like hamburger, liquefy it, and run it through that machine to get the same number, to make sure that what we were measuring was the same. And that was how it was originally calibrated. That's the only other way to measure antioxidants in the cells, is to excise 4 square inches of skin. It costs a few $100, but if I give you a number, if I give you a number from an HPLC, you just accept it, right? I mean, it's just, that's doctrine. This is the way it is. And so you start to look at it that way. So the way I've always explained it, or understood it, if you could pour a Coke in that machine, you know every single ingredient in that Coke, how much of every ingredient is in there, and more importantly, the quality levels of every ingredient. Security guard. You guys get out to kind of come in because that gets a little bit loud. But Joe Chang told me a couple months ago, actually, you could spit in that machine and he could tell you what you ate in the last 24 hours. To me, that's amazing. Like, that is really cool. So when people come here and they say, well, do you know about other products? Yes. In a lot of cases, we know what's in other people's products better than the people who formulated it. Because they don't do any science. Because there are about 50 different nutrition companies between here and the airport. There's about 50 of them. This is just kind of the row. They tout this, they tout that. There's one about halfway between here and the point of the mountain called eSupplements. And so we went on their website just to look at it, because it was a new company, I didn't know what it was. They tout there one Harvard-trained scientist that will formulate a product for your specific company. You just supply the label. So you want to create your own supplement? Call eSupplements. Go to eSupplement.com. So this is the price point I want it to be in, and they'll spit you out a formulation you can stamp your sticker on it. It works as a business, but it's a total crock. One Harvard-trained scientist. And they're going to tout that, and yet we've got 75 of them here working in 4 laboratories. About 40 of them are PhDs from 13 different disciplines. We have one lady that I've never actually met her, but she's a PhD pharmacognosist. And I only know we have her because I had to learn how to say pharmacognosist. But her job is to fly around to all of the vendors that source product for us and test their soils. Make sure that they're growing it the way that we want it to be grown. Make sure they're drying the product the way we want it to be dried. Make sure that they're doing all of that at the source. If you don't have scientists that can do that, how do you know it's actually being done? That's kind of the approach we're taking. Whereas you take the average company up along between here and the freeway, on average, they will have 0 to 2 scientists on staff. Can you really imagine that? I know a company up the road, $1 billion nutritional company, 0 scientists on staff. And yet they, on their label, says it's therapeutic grade. It's like, what does that even mean? They created that. They have no way of measuring it. They couldn't tell you how they measured or came up with that other than their marketing team knew that it sounded cool. That's really what it came down to. It's just a bunch of garbage, ultimately. If you come over to this one, so you look at that machine in the back, that's a high-performance liquid chromatography with a mass spectrometer on it. We have submitted 27 products to be challenge tested by the U.S. Olympic Committee. All 27 have come back certified that Olympic athletes can take those products and will not fail a drug test. That isn't just, oh, we took LifePak, we peed in a cup, and we didn't fail a test. They have 8 of those machines. Those are about $300,000 a piece. And the USOC's got 8 of those. And they look at it, and what they're doing is they're saying, okay, you took LifePak Nano, you didn't fail a drug test, but did it mask any of the known substances that we're trying to avoid? Would they test negatively if you took this, along with that? How would it interact if you took this and protein and creatine and all this other stuff? What would it morph into? Because they can put it up on a 3D model to kind of look at all of that and see what it came to also see if it can fail a drug test or mask a drug test. And so it's pretty complex testing. Then you kind of move up. You've got the one with the light on back there. That is a gas spectrometer. And then as well as this machine right here. This machine right here is a high performance gas spectrometer that will measure at 1 part per 50 billion.
50.
Yeah. It's basically, the way you look at that is you take 1 drop of iodine, drop it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, let it kind of sift and filter in that pool, and a random sample the pool, it will fail that test. So you look at that and say, okay, well, why is that important? Well, because this is called LifePak. We want you to take it twice a day for the rest of your life. I started taking it at 22. I've taken it virtually every single day, twice a day, and I'm now 35. So now you look at that and say, well, what if there was a little bit more than 1 part per 50 billion of mercury or of lead or something like that that's just been building up in my body? 13 years into it, I'd be having some problems. And that's the thing. There have been companies that have been shut down in this industry in the last 13 years for lead poisoning, for toxic levels of mercury, for too much of this, not enough of that. Arsenic. I mean, there was a kid's chewable vitamin that got shut down because it killed children. I mean, that's the problem. That's why this industry has earned the reputation that it has. It's not because it's unfair. We've earned it. We're trying to be different than everybody else. Right? That's really what we're trying to say. That machine with the big tube coming out of it, that's called an ICP unit, or it stands for inductively coupled plasma machine. When you turn that on, it takes a gas argon flame at 4,000 degrees Celsius. So it's hotter than the temperature of the sun. And you inject raw material into that, and as it burns off that raw material, every element that is in there that's burning will emit a different colored light. Basically kind of how the scanner works. Every molecule has a different colored light that when you shine on it, it refracts something back. Well, it works the same way when you burn it. So we burn these different materials, and it's the best and most accurate way to measure heavy metals. All of this, what I'm trying to tell you is, if you had a product, if you were, let's say you're a farmer, and you're sourcing raw material, this would be the best person that you would want to sell to. We pay in cash. We don't take terms. We don't do net 20, net 30, net 50. When we buy product from you, as soon as we collect shipment and as soon as you ship it, we put the money in escrow. We release it to you as soon as we have tested to make sure it meets our satisfaction. So, and the reason we do it that way is because we know you're also sourcing product for other people. And we don't want you to ship the product to someone else before shipping it to us. If we want the product and they say, okay, Nu Skin needs product, you're going to ship the product to us first because, this XYZ company has net 30 terms, and Nu Skin's going to pay us as soon as we get out of the door. So we're always going to be jumped to the front of the line to get the product. Okay? Knowing that, you'd be stupid not to try to sell to us. We reject 80% of the people who try to source raw material for us because we go and test it, because we have a pharmacognosist that goes to their site and tests their facility there. Because she's shown up to people and seen their raw material just out on tarps in the parking lot being dried. And that's not satisfactory for us, and so she's turned around and said, nope, they're off the list. But we still reject 30%, upwards of 30% from approved vendors already. Because when they ship us product, as they do for every single company, they give us a manifest that says, we have tested for the 500 or 600 things that you wanted tested for, and it's all clear. And if you don't have the staff or the labs to take it and random sample that raw material and run it through this testing, then you take their word for it and you put it in your product. We look at it and we tested it and we found salmonella, we found E. coli, we found heavy metals, we found all this stuff, and we reject about 30% of the shipments that we received from vendors we're already accepting. Guys, we're working with plants. It's easy to happen. It's easy for, water to come in and be contaminated from the field next door. It happens all the time. And so if you're not testing every batch of raw material, how do you really know what's in there? And so what we do is we will random sample every batch of raw material comes in. Once it's approved, we send it to be manufactured. Then we random sample every final batch of product. So by the time you take any of our product, skincare or nutrition, you put that in your mouth or on your skin, you know it's been random sampled twice. You know that it's safe, it's effective, and it's exactly the formulation that we wanted it to be. And there's not another nutritional company in the world that can say that. No one's doing that. Because you look at all the nutritional companies between here and the airport, we have more scientists in this building than they do in all of them combined. And that's the difference. So, do you guys have any questions about any of this? I know a lot of it will be handled kind of the rest of the day. We've got 2 or 3 different scientists that are going to come speak to us. It's more specifically about the scanner, more specifically about some of the scanner approved product and the ageLOC product that I was, technology that I was saying. So that stuff will get answered. But any other questions about the lab, any of that? All right. Well, you guys, if you want to just go right downstairs, if you need a drink, use the bathroom, whatever, and we'll get started again in that auditorium.